So welcome to episode 9 of Photoshop for Beginners, actually the second part of the brush tool tutorial. In this episode I will show you how to customize your brush and how to create new brushes and how to download them from the internet and things like that. So I will start right away and I will select the brush tool and I will select a default round brush like this one, a hard brush, and I will create a new layer and I will paint something like that to show you that this is a default brush, a normal brush, nothing special about it. And next I'm going to customize this. So in order to customize your brush you have to open the brush window, which you can do if you click this icon here. This is only available when you have the brush tool selected. I also have that icon here on the second dock, and you can also access it if you go to the menu window and select this option, or if you press F5 you get this window here. On the left side you have all these options here, and here you have a list of all the brushes available on this set. You can change the set if you right click and choose another set like DP brushes for example, and you will see that the brushes here change as well. So let's go back to the default brushes. If you remember, you have to click the reset brushes option and click OK. So this is the default brush set. Here you have the same options for size and hardness, but you also have some more options, like for example the spacing. I will decrease the size and you will see that I get something like that when I stroke with it. If I decrease spacing to 0, I get a straight line. Now, what else you can do here? You can change the roundness or the angle. Right now this is round brush, so it doesn't really affect it. So I would select a new brush like this one, and if I rotate that, you can see that you can paint with it on angles. So that's what you can do with these options here. You can also flip the brush on the two axes, X and Y. I will select another round brush and let's go with the other settings here. The shape dynamic options affects the diameter of the brush, so usually set the control to off if you don't have a tablet, because I think by default it comes to pen pressure. So I set it to off. And here you can change how the diameter of the brush is changed. This is a random option, and if I paint here you will see that I get some of the circles are small and some of them are bigger, and the maximum diameter they reach is the diameter that I have here, which is 30 pixels. You can also scatter them. I will set count to 1 because there are too many of them, and you can increase the separation between them. I usually use count 1 and I will leave these options untouched most of the times. I only play with a spacing option with the scatter, and you get things like this with the scattering option on. Notice that if I disable shape dynamics and I do this again, the diameter of the brush is the same, because now it's not affected by this random diameter change that shape dynamics applies to the brush. You can also set a texture to the brush, but I never use this, so you can try this for yourself. You can also use dual brush. In other words, you can mix brushes, and you have some blend modes because they work differently depending on the blend mode that you choose. So this is just for creating abstract particles and things like that. I used it in some of my tutorials to create dust and things like that. I will undo that. I don't use this too often. The color dynamics option is really nice. For example, if I change the foreground color to red and the background color to yellow, you can paint with different colors. With this option you can set the balance between the foreground and the background colors, so you can paint with more yellow or you can paint with more red. And I set control to off again. For the hue, you can change the hue, so instead of painting with these ones, you shift the hue and you change the colors. You can change the saturation. I will undo, and anytime I change the settings I will undo so that you can see the difference. You can change the brightness and make darker dots. You can change the purity, that will create some more strong colors or more unsaturated colors if you decrease the purity. So the saturation is not really dealing with saturation, while it colorizes a bit, but anyway, so these are the basic options that you have. Another option that I use quite often is the transfer option. I think on previous versions of Photoshop it was called maybe opacity or something like that. I'm not really sure, but it affects opacity. You can see here on the preview you can create random transparent dots, and since I also have color dynamics, I create randomly semi-transparent colored dots which are dynamically shaped and scattered. So with the transfer you can create this kind of effect. Let me disable color dynamics so you'll see it better. So they are semi-transparent. If I disable the background layer, you will see that you can see through them because I increased the opacity option, and you will see it better here on this preview here. And this is all random. You cannot choose which one is semi-transparent and which one is 100% opaque. So it's random. So you can change this to pen pressure, for example, and if you press harder on the brush you will get more transparency or less transparency depending on how hard you press on the pen. But anyway, this is how you can customize your brush. In most of my tutorials I show which options I used and the settings here, so don't worry too much about that. But this is just to show you that you can create some things that you can have fun with and maybe create your own abstract wallpapers or who knows what. Okay, as I said, you can also create your own brushes, and I will make you a short demonstration here. What's important to know is that if you want to create brushes, you only have to work with the black and white, because you cannot have a colored brush. It's all black and white. And I will create a sort of a vector-like brush using shapes. So I'll create something like this, then another shape like this one, move it here, and let's get another shape and make something like that. Oops, on a new layer. I'm just doing a quick so something like that, and let's make a smaller one inside of it. Now that I have these shapes here, I can turn this into a brush. And if you want to save this as a brush, you can go to Edit, Define Brush Preset. Click this button here, and notice that even though the document is like 900 pixels wide, it only selects the content that's inside here. Everything that is black will be converted into the brush. So it selects everything that is black here. In this case it's 290 pixels. And you can give this a name like circles and click OK. And now if I select the brush, and now if I right click here on the bottom of the list, I have my brush here, and you can see the diameter is 290 pixels, and I don't have hardness option, as I said on the previous episode. And now I can paint with this with any color that I want. One thing to keep in mind is that if you increase the size, you will lose quality on the edges. So see that? Let me make it even bigger. So you see that I'm losing a lot of quality here on the edges. That's why I have to use click this button to go to the default brush size, and then you get the original size of the brush. Now, how you create semi-transparent brushes? Well, it's really easy. As I said, you only work with black and white, the grayscale. And if you're using 100% black, like I will do here, paint this dot here, and then I paint with the medium gray, and then with almost white gray, and click here. And if I convert this into a brush, I go again to Edit, Define Brush Preset, and I'll give it a name 3 dots. And I will delete this layer now. And you'll see it here on the bottom of the list. And I will select the color red. I already had this as a brush. And if I click once, notice that this is at 100% opacity. This other one is at like almost 50% opacity, and this is almost transparent. And that's because when I created the brush, I used different shades of gray. So the closer you get to the white, the more transparency you get. So that being said, I will show you how you can make even a photograph into a brush, and I will turn this into black and white. You can turn this photo into a brush even if you don't turn it into black and white. But if I go to Edit, you can see that Define Brush Preset is disabled, and that's because the image is bigger than 2500 pixels. You have the maximum size of the brush is 2500 pixels, so you have to set the maximum size to that one, otherwise you will not be able to create the brush. And now if I go to Edit, I can turn this into a brush preset, but you can see that it's in black and white, so I'll accept that, and I'll go back to my document here, select the brush, and here on the bottom of the list is my brush, and I'll make it smaller to make sure it fits on this document. And again, I have the red color selected, and I have the brush ready, and I can paint with any color. Of course, this is not really useful, but I'm just trying to show you the principle. So that's how you create brushes yourself. If you want to create your own brush set, you can right click that icon and choose Preset Manager, choose Preset Type Brushes, and select all the brushes except the first one, and choose Delete. Make sure you leave one of the default round brushes, and that's because with this brush you have that hardness setting, which on the brushes that you will make you will not have. So make sure to leave one of these brushes here because it's really useful. And then click Save Set, and make sure to give it a name. So make sure you don't save over the original brush because you will lose them. And type your name, so my brushes, and click Done. And once you have that empty brush preset, you can start making your own brushes. And I don't know, you can start adding your elements or do whatever you want to do. I'm just doing some crazy things here. Go to Edit, Define Brush Preset. I don't know why it's not letting me do that. So yeah, first I have to rasterize the layer, and go to Edit, Define Brush Preset, and you can give it a name like 1, or you can type your name, or if you have a website and you can type your website name here. I'll type psdbox.com, press OK, and I will delete the layer. So now if I right click, I have the brush here, and if you hover the mouse over it, you will see the name pops up. And I also have that brush here. So for example, if I use this brush to create something, and then I want to create a layer mask for this, and I want to use a soft brush, I have this helper brush here which I can adjust the hardness and the size of it without having to go to reset brushes and then come back to this one. So that's why I have this soft brush here. You can close Photoshop at this time if you want, and when you open it, the brush will still be here, but remember that you didn't save this brush. So if I go to reset brushes now, it will ask me if I want to replace these ones. I click OK, but then it asks me if I want to save these brushes, and I'll click yes because I have a new brush which I didn't save, so I will save it. Okay, let's see how you can download brushes from the internet. I said that if you right click and click this icon, you have a list of brushes here. So let's see how you can download brushes from the internet. You can download tons of them from the internet. For example, on DeviantArt, just type, for example, I don't know, I just type Photoshop brushes, and you'll see tons of them. Let's see which one. Let's see this set here. So I click download file, and I'll save it on my desktop, and I will open this, and I will extract this on its folder. If I want to have the brushes that I just downloaded here on this list, I can click here and go to replace brushes and go to the desktop, and here's the folder, and these are the brushes that I just made myself, and here's the folder that I downloaded, and this is the brush set, and you can see that there are 4 or 5 brushes in this set, and you can see the diameter. These are really big brushes, high quality brushes. I will make them smaller, and these are the brushes, and you can see it's this one. You can change the color. So that's how you load brushes in Photoshop. If you want to have these brushes on this list here so that you don't have to load them every time, you have to save that set, this one. You have to put that on a specific folder. So I will copy this, and I will go to my computer and find the folder where you installed Photoshop, and this is Photoshop CS5. And I have to go to the folder called presets, and inside here you have all the presets that you have in Photoshop, and you have to look for the brushes folder, which is this one. So open the brushes folder and paste that brush set here, and here I have it, 1, 2, 3 PB grunge background 1. And if I go back to Photoshop, I right click, and I will not be able to find that brush preset here, and that's because you have to reset. You have to close Photoshop and open it again in order to find that brush here, because Photoshop will scan the folder when it opens, and it will find that new brush preset that you have there. So I open Photoshop again. I'll create a new document, and let's see if I have the brush preset on the list now. And here it is, 1, 2, 3 PB grunge background 1. Click OK, and this is the brush set. And that way you don't have to load the brushes every time. So every time you open Photoshop, you will have that brush on this list here. So that's all about the brush tool for now. I hope you learned something new. If you have any problems or any questions, just post a comment and I'll try to reply as soon as I can. So see you on the next episode.